what you did last year? Here, let me give you a hint. You all fed and provided resources for our neighbors in need. The people here in this room today and tuning in online provided food for our neighbors who are hungry and made sure that people could pay their next month's rent. You all took care of parents who were stressed out. They'd been furloughed, laid off, and they were broke. And you made sure that they were warm and safe in their homes with healthy food on their table. And together, we expanded Broomfield Fish into an organization where any resident of Broomfield County could come and receive the help that they needed. I think that definitely deserves a round of applause. I could spend several minutes today focusing on stories of despair, people who showed up at our doors hungry. But we're not going to do that. We're going to talk about the little celebrations that we've enjoyed as people have come to Broomfield Fish and had their lives transformed by our organization. Broomfield has always been a vibrant community, a thriving community, and it continues to be just that. But we're under new and different pressures than when this town was first conceptualized. When Broomfield Fish was founded in 1963, we had different situations than what we have today. I've lived here for the past 35 years, and Broomfield continues to be a wonderful place. But the definition of thriving community has changed. A thriving community now means how well do we come together and take care of each other. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I'd like to welcome you all to the annual fundraising event, Embracing Hope, on behalf of the families of Broomfield Fish. It is so terrific to see so many familiar faces here and a bunch of new ones as well. We're here in this stunning architectural masterpiece of the Partners Group. The Partners Group is a global investment firm committed to creating sustainable returns by investing in promising industries and developing them into market leaders. And I confidently speak on behalf of my hometown, Broomfield, when I say thank you so much for choosing this vibrant oasis of community here at the picturesque base of the Rocky Mountains as your home base. We're so glad that you're here. I'd like to thank our presenting sponsors today. First, we have Dr. Bill and Jean Markle, whom I've both known since birth. Their name is remembered fondly each day in the Markle Marketplace, where families can shop with dignity. We have the Lakin Family Foundation, whose generosity throughout the years has allowed us to purchase a box truck, transit van, walk-in freezers and refrigerators, and whose name is found proudly on the front door of our building at 6 Garden Center. And lastly, to our hosts. You all have done so much. During the pandemic, Ryan Claxton organized a group of 10 volunteers to come every Friday and help us with our drive-up distribution. And this lifted a huge weight off of our shoulders. And David Layton, the CEO, he came as well, and he brought his family. That's awesome. Ryan is here today, so thank you, Ryan. And thanks, Partners Group. Yay. Okay, so now I have to give a special shout out to our friends online. This is truly a silver lining of the pandemic, hybrid options. And so to those of you on our camera, whether you're wearing pants or not, we're just really happy that you're here. I'd like to play a little game. Anybody like games? Okay. Here's a trivia game. And if you're tuning in online, feel free to drop your message in the chat box. Some of you are going to know this answer. How many residents do we have here in the city of Broomfield? Mayor? Guyleen? There you go, she knew. 74,800. And of those 74,800, what number do you think that we're serving here at Broomfield Fish? I heard it. 1 in 7. That's right, folks. I know I've been calling you and telling you, hey, we now serve 1 in 7 people in Broomfield. Okay, this one's a little bit harder. How many pounds does the big boy locomotive weigh? This engine was in use from the early 1940s to the late 1950s. Any guesses? Wow, that was close. 1.5 million pounds. Good job. 1.5 million pounds. That's how much food we gave out in 2020. And 1.7 million pounds is what we are going to give out in 2021, and that's all up from 900,000 pounds in 2019. I've talked a little bit about how Broomfield Fish has been expanded to account for the growing needs of our community. So how much money do you think that we've secured, mostly through grants, to take care of our most vulnerable neighbors? $2 million. These surprising statistics should serve as an inspiring reminder of why we are here today. We're here to celebrate those victories and to double down on those efforts by letting all of you know how effectively and efficiently we have put your contributions to work. So without further ado, I'd like to welcome Dana Scott, Executive Director, and Dave Massey, Board Chair, to get our program started. Thank you.
That's a lovely round of applause. Thanks, everyone. Thank you, Emily. And I'm Dana Scott. I'm the Executive Director at Broomfield Fish. And as Emily said, today is really meant to be a celebration of our strengths, both as an organization and as a phenomenal community. We want to talk about what we've learned, how we've grown, and in keeping with the name of this event, we want to talk about the hope that we have seen in the last year. I am proud to say that there is an abundance of hope to celebrate. And I'm a visual person, so I know you guys can see the balloons that are here. What I want you to do is imagine that each balloon is a child that we fed this past year. That each balloon is a family that we helped keep a roof overhead. That each balloon is a person that we helped connect to resources to find a job. That they're a parent we connected to quality childcare. And that they're a resident who we helped navigate medical bills. So if we were to inflate a balloon for all of those things that we have done this year, this very large, spacious, beautiful room would be overflowing with balloons. And it would look like a 3-year-old's birthday party. Or maybe my birthday party. Last year, we talked about the need for patience, kindness, and flexibility during the pandemic. Let's be real, we could all use that all the time, especially while driving on US 36. But what we are seeing today, as we near the end of 2021, is the need for connections. First and foremost, Fish will always be a food bank, and food is often the entry point for people when they first realize that they need help. But as a family resource center, we have to build trust, we have to build relationships, and build connections in order to help people truly become more self-sufficient. And one of the things that I love about this gathering today is seeing so many of the connections And we were joking that there could be a game of 6 degrees of separation from anybody who knows anything about fish. And I'm not gonna make you play any games because I left that to Emily. For those in the audience and those who are watching at home, I encourage you to think about the connections that have helped to enrich your life. Who were the people? What were the resources? Where were the safe places? Fish seeks to be a central hub of caring and kindness, where people can find meaningful connections, a sense of belonging, and, of course, toilet paper. And I'm holding this up because the lovely, beautiful Mary Jasinski gave this to me early on in the pandemic. And so I always had my own private stash of toilet paper, and nobody even knew what it was. They thought it was a cute little hat, and that's what it was. So thank you, Mary. But this brings me to the notion of transformational versus transactional assistance. And Emily spoke a lot about the transformations we've seen this year. What does that really mean? Let's take a look at food. Someone can come to Fish and ask for food, and we can give it to them. And that is transactional. Or a family can come seeking help for this month's rent to avoid eviction, and that is transactional. However, to really change lives and change futures, we have to be transformational. We have to ask, why is there no food at home in the cupboard? What is happening in your life that prevents you from paying rent? What strengths and supports do you have? Where are you going to get the strength and support from? What are the ongoing roadblocks or barriers? And basically, we just have to dig deeper. We have to spend time getting to know our participants. And we can't make changes for them, but we can offer encouragement, tools, and resources. So we're gonna be sharing a video that highlights some of the transformational change that we've seen in the last year, so I won't spend more time on that. But one thing that we hear over and over again is that I can't focus on finding a job or getting my car repaired or getting a health screening if I'm constantly worried about where I'm gonna sleep and where my children are gonna sleep at night. And that brings me to the topic of housing insecurity, which has been a little bit of a hot button here and quite honestly across the country. The number one reason why people have trouble making ends meet right now is because of the high cost of housing. Most of our Fish families have some kind of employment, but they are spending 70% or more of their income on housing costs. And in the past 15 months during this pandemic, Fish has been doing triage. Much like an emergency room does everything they possibly can to keep someone alive, we have been doing everything we possibly can to keep families housed. And you may have heard about federal and state relief funds that are helping with emergency rental assistance. If you have heard of those, just raise your hand, or if you're at home, type yes in the chat so we know. The Department of Local Affairs, otherwise known as DOLA, ERAP, we like to call it, even though I'm not gonna rap for you. Emergency Rent Assistance Program, ERAP. So Fish was fortunate to be able to access these funds to the tune of $1.7 million in order to give our low-income Broomfield families a clean slate to move forward and become self-sufficient. With this funding for rent assistance, we were able to prevent evictions and give more than 800 families some relief, knowing that they will not be kicked out of their home. Yes, thank you. I cannot stress enough how important this has been in our work this year. And this was a pandemic response. It will not be forever. And I know our participant services team will be very happy to hear that, because they have been working incredibly hard. That's why we need everyone in the room who's committed to finding affordable housing solutions for our community. And that brings me to my 984th reason to celebrate today, and that's called Academy Place on 120th. This is 49 units of very affordable housing that will be ready by December. and we already have lists of families who want to move in there. So even though housing has not traditionally been our focus area or necessarily our area of expertise, it is a basic human need, and Fish has had to step up this year to help. We could not have done what we've done this year, serving how many residents again? 1 in 7? Yeah, 1 in 7. We could not have done that without our growing staff. And we currently have 14 paid staff working across 3 teams. And they are truly the real heroes and deserve all the balloons and all the toilet paper. In case you didn't get to meet them earlier when you were mixing and mingling, or in case you're tuning in at home, I want to just do a quick introduction, and I'm going to ask people to stand and stay standing, but not for long, I promise. We'll start with the food operations team. So if you all could stand, I want you all to know our most seasoned veteran staff, Mike Lutz, who has been with Fish for more than 12 years. And we also have the amazing Bill Smith, Ryan Steele, and Eleanor Edwards on our food operations team. And please stay standing. The next is our participant services team. We have many new faces on this team, and we've hired several bilingual and even trilingual staff so that we can better serve our families. I want to give a big thank you to Sharon T., to Jelly, who you can always hear over any microphone, to Vivi, Carolina, Luciana, and Melissa. And I know Melissa is hard at work being our chat promoter. I also want to thank our spectacular engagement team who has made sure that this event ran smoothly, and makes sure that we have donations coming in so that we can serve our families in the best way we know how. One of the familiar faces you've already seen today, she's our amazing community engagement specialist and the MC, Emily. We also have Sharon, Stacy, and Maggie. And I would be remiss if I didn't also mention our fantastic board of directors. If you all could stand and give a wave. And since I don't have all the balloons to fill this room or all the toilet paper to fill this room, you can just imagine that being given to all of you, our incredible board and staff at Broomfield Fish. Thank you. And you can sit down now. This leads me to the last thing that I get to do today, which is good. You're probably sick of hearing me talk already. To introduce our newly inducted board chair, David Massey.
Thank you, Dana. Dana is a recipient this year, a well-deserved recipient of a Heart of Broomfield Award. Her work over the last 18 months leading us through this pandemic has been amazing, and she deserves our real thanks. Thank you, Dana. We have amazing staff here at Broomfield Fish, but we actually run on volunteer power. We rely on our volunteers to keep the operation running. We have volunteers who sort the produce and make sure our freezers are full. We have volunteers sorting the bakery items every day, making sure the shelves are stocked with decent food. We have volunteers who greet the participants and make them feel welcomed. We have volunteers who ride along with the big truck with Ryan to pick up from the grocery stores every weekday morning. We have volunteers who take out the smelly pig bin for the pig farmer to come and pick up. We have volunteers who do whatever it takes to make sure that Broomfield Fish is a clean, welcoming, and safe place to be. Our volunteers are young and not so young, and they come from a wide variety of backgrounds. So if you're a volunteer watching at home, give yourself a pat on the back. And please join me in giving our volunteers a huge round of applause for keeping this place running. Every Tuesday, I take the fish van filled with food and deliver that food to some of the senior assisted living facilities in Broomfield. For a lot of these seniors who have lived in Broomfield for much of their lives, this is an essential service. It's been termed to me as being a lifesaver. When I pull up with the van full of food, there's one lady who refers to me as being an earth angel. I think that's a little bit too much. I have no wings. There's a gentleman at the town centre senior apartments on a fixed income, struggling to pay the rent, and this food makes a huge difference for him as he tries to help raise his grandchildren. There's a lady on a restricted diet who was just so happy last Christmas to get nuts, and she looked me in the eyes and said, "And they were really good nuts too." It may come as a bit of a shock to some of you, having heard me talk, but I'm not actually a native of Broomfield. I started volunteering at Broomfield Fish nearly 6 years ago. I've met some wonderful people and made some great friends in what we often refer to as our fish family. In those 6 years, we've moved to a larger building, got everybody in one premises so that we can be more efficient and offer more services. The food pantry remains central to our activities, but we've managed to expand as a family resource centre and offer a much wider variety of services to give families support and hope here in Broomfield. So now I'd like to share with you a video that will show a little bit more of that work that we do. Thank you.
It's just been so hard over the past year. I've truly never really asked for help in my life, and when I walked in here and saw this amazing organization, it just made me feel at home and just like 20 times better because the people were so caring and so nice and amazing.
Well, since COVID happened, a lot of people lost their jobs, especially my wife and I. And I mean, we were really struggling, so we needed help.
It was just phenomenal to see how much help Fish does, because not everyone has a lot, and seeing people go through these hardships and hearing about my neighbors talk about Broomfield Fish and my friends, I was just like, wow, like there is a great, amazing organization that really goes out of their way to help the community.
Many people think of Broomfield Fish as a food bank, and we are absolutely that, but we are also a family resource center, and our mission is to ensure that we meet our neighbors' basic human needs and that we help families thrive.
Participants come to our Family Resource Center, and we really act as navigators, connecting them to different resources in the area and making sure that they have a great plan moving forward into sustainability.
As a family resource center, it's the one-stop shop that families can come to not just get high-quality, healthy food, but to really get connected with the partnerships that Fish has across the community, across the state. It makes it easy for participants to be able to come to Fish and to really get all their needs met.
The core of it is to really give families the tools that they need, right, to become self-sufficient, to become confident, and to know that they belong in the community.
Fish serves low-income Broomfield residents who live at or below 200% of the federal poverty guidelines. You add a pandemic to that, and there is just a tidal wave of need. Last year we served over 12,600 unduplicated residents, which is 1 in 7 Broomfield residents.
Fish was always here, and the need was always in the community, but it was never this high of a need. A lot of people that never thought they would need our assistance before came and are coming to us for assistance.
Historically, fish has been a safety net. What's happened during the pandemic is we've become a lifeline.
We didn't shut down during the whole pandemic. We transitioned basically in a day from doing indoor shopping to outside distribution. Everybody involved stepped up and just did this wonderful job of making sure that we always had things to give to our families.
Fish really felt like there was a need coming from our participants to have the connection and to have the in-person experience. So we were able to open back up in June.
We did change some things around to make sure that we have one direction traffic flow. It was actually really smooth getting Marketplace set up. For me, it was all about being able to choose your own food and the dignity that goes with doing your own shopping and picking out the things that you want.
It gives our participants a way to get the food that they need for their families with dignity and respect. I think that's the biggest thing. Being able to go in and shop for the food that they need and the food that they want, the food that their family will eat, the food that their kids will enjoy. There's definitely a sense of, wow, I get all these options, and it's pretty exciting.
We also have seen a giant surge in rent assistance. On average, we've been serving anywhere from 150 to 200 people a month. There is a nationwide affordable housing crisis. 50% of all Broomfield renters are cost burdened, which means they're spending more than 30% of their income on rent. Housing here in Broomfield, it's about $1,700 a month for a studio apartment. It's about $2,200 a month for a 2-bedroom. That means that if you're working a minimum wage job, you have to work 97 hours a week in order to afford that housing.
It is a lot easier and cheaper, honestly, to assist somebody with their rent when they are just behind on their rent than to assist somebody that has an eviction on their record or is now experiencing homelessness and trying to get them housed somewhere.
Over half the people we serve are children under the age of 18, and when we talk about affordable housing, I think it's really important for people to remember how that impacts children's development. That lack of stability, that moving around, that sleeping in a car, that sleeping on a neighbor's couch, that is huge, and I get a little emotional talking about that because it's really devastating for kids. And so we're trying to make sure that kids don't have to go through that.
Broomfield Fish decided to create a participant advisory committee when we saw that the growth in the Hispanic and Latinx population was growing in Broomfield. We wanted to have a participant committee where the Hispanic voices were being heard more. So we reached out to a lot of people in different communities that have a lot of monolingual Spanish speakers, and we just told them, listen, if they want to make a change in their community, to contact us, and we got it rolling.
No Kid Hungry is a national campaign to decrease poverty among families, mainly with kids 0 to 5. The families receive a weekly box with fresh food, the delivery with food that is more cultural relevant. Creo que cuando estamos en la comunidad ayudando a las personas a accesar otros recursos, esto también ayuda a las personas a confiar más en Fish y a sentir que es una casa abierta para todos.
Adopt a Shelf is just a way for an individual, group, family, organization, neighborhood, and they can do what they can to help keep certain shelves full.
Our Boy Scout troop has adopted a shelf here at Broomfield Fish, and that shelf is the cooking oil shelf. It's just an easy way to make a small impact in our community.
So the Family Fun Day was an extraordinary event. We have all these families, we have great partners in our community, families re-engaging with each other and with Broomfield Fish as a family resource center. We also had Broomfield Public Health providing vaccines for families who didn't have vaccines yet or needed like a second vaccine, and just lots of information.
And we currently partner with Public Health to bring vaccination clinics to areas that we know we have a lot of participants in. We heard from several participants that they were only able to get the vaccine at this time because it was given inside of their community and it was at a later time of the day because they couldn't really miss work.
We are so incredibly lucky to live in Broomfield, which is an amazingly generous community. The individual donations that come to Fish allow us to build capacity to do our job really well. We can hire and train the best people to work with our residents and help them on a pathway to self-sufficiency.
So the monetary donations have really helped us target certain items that we can really use and buy in bulk to try and keep those items on the shelves longer, especially the non-perishable items. That's what this community does. We take care of each other, and I can't thank you guys enough for all of that because you've made this all possible.
Walking to a place where we felt so comfortable and everybody was so nice and just caring and loving and just, they made us feel so good.
For me, as a person that works through Broomfield Fish to help and touch lives this way, it felt like I was in the position to really change someone's future. Their children are gonna have an opportunity. They don't have to leave their schools, they don't have to leave their community, and just being there to support people, making them feel like they're not alone, that is how I feel better about my life, and that is what Broomfield Fish brings to the community.
I'm hopeful that we keep this wonderful selection of fresh produce going for the foreseeable future.
I'm definitely hopeful for continuing the great donations we've been getting from the community.
There's still so much need, and having the support of our community is so important for us to be able to do our job, for our participants to be able to get the assistance that they need. So being able to continue our work with the community support, that is something that I'm very hopeful for.
We're getting to the best part of the program now. We have an amazing high school student. He's volunteered throughout this pandemic. He's smart, kind, creative, and funny. He brings a joyful youth to our team. And you might have seen him before if you tune in to us on our social medias, which are very active. During our March Madness Mayhem, there were dollies, crates, and tons of cheering. Let's all welcome Dawson Kusel to the stage.
Hello, my name is Dawson Kusel. I'm a volunteer at Fish, and I've been volunteering since I was 9. Over the past 1.5 years, I've been volunteering at Fish every Monday, putting food into participants' cars when the Fish Marketplace was closed during COVID. I remember seeing kids pull up in their cars and looking at all the food with amazement on their face every time they came in. I realized that for them, seeing all this food was like seeing presents under the Christmas tree on Christmas morning. On a warm day in March, I remember a dad brought his 2 kids to Fish. The first one was a girl around the age of 8, and I remember she was obviously looking for something. I asked her if she was looking or hoping for anything special, and she told me that she was looking for spicy juice, which I quickly realized is what she called grapefruit juice. This particular day, we did not have grapefruit juice, and I saw the sad look on her face, and I thought to myself, what can I do so that Fish has more money so that she can have grapefruit juice? I thought to myself, I can build something, sell it, and give the money to Fish. Now I had to figure out what to sell. Around the same time in school, in design class, we were building birdhouses for local bird species. I was really excited about making birdhouses because my dad and I enjoy watching the birds outside our window every morning. In the middle of our design project, we went into the COVID shutdown, and I suddenly had time on my hands. A lot of time. While I was sitting in my house with all this extra time, that's when I realized that I can combine my 2 passions of bird watching and giving back to the community by creating a birdhouse making business and donating all my proceeds to Fish. I quickly got to work creating a supply list so that my dad and I could pick up everything we needed at Lowe's. I built a website and created an order form in hopes of getting a few orders to get my project up and running. To my surprise, the orders started pouring in from friends, family, and people in the community who I had never met. It was awesome to see so many people support a kid in the community who had an idea to make birdhouses in hopes of helping feed families in need. In that first week, I built, stained, and delivered 50 birdhouses, raising $1,000 for fish. I remember my mom came home on the first day of my birdhouse making business, and she saw me using a handsaw to cut pieces of wood. I'm pretty sure she had never seen me use woodworking tools, and I doubt she even knew we had a handsaw in our garage. She asked me, "Do you even know how to use this?" And at that point, I told her that I'd learned how to use most of the tools at school, but I taught myself everything else I needed to know. And I think it's safe to say that after that 1 week of so many birdhouses, I definitely knew what I was doing. After that whirlwind of a week of building birdhouses and raising a decent amount of money for fish, it's time for me to go back to school, so I decided to close my business for the rest of the year. 6 months later, at the start of a new school year, each student in my class was challenged to complete a community project that supported an organization we were passionate about. While volunteering at Fish during the pandemic, I realized that the need for feeding families was only getting greater. This is what motivated me to reopen my birdhouse business. My neighbor saw me struggling with the handsaw and offered to give me his old chop saw. And you wouldn't believe how excited I was to finally have this that can make more precise and faster cuts to help improve the quality and quantity of my birdhouses. This time around, I was more motivated, but I had to keep sustaining orders of over 3 to 4 months. This time, I received 150 orders, had to make many, many more birdhouses. During the second round of my project, I ended up making $2,000 more that I donated directly to Fish. When I think about what the impact my project had on the Broomfield community, think about all the families I've seen come to Fish, and especially all the kids I've met while putting food in people's cars. Looking back, I am so glad that Fish had the resources from my donation and the generous donations of others to be able to provide families with their choice of food, even their choices of juices, like the spicy grapefruit juice. There are many ways that you can help Broomfield Fish, like volunteering and food drives, but today you can help by going on your phone or going to the check-in area to make a financial donation. While some of us are recovering or even moving on from the pandemic, many in our community continue to suffer its effects. So I ask once more to please donate if you are able so that we can help support neighbors in need. Thank you.
Great job, Dawson. Thank you so much for all that you've done for Broomfield Fish. And thank you to all of you here today who've attended. And especially you guys who tuned out online. We can't see you, but we know you're here. We would like to issue all a special challenge to think about how you can serve your community in a different way. And if you think of a great idea, share it with us. We'd love to know. One more time. If you are so moved today by the work we're doing here at Broomfield Fish, please text FISH, F-I-S-H, to 56651 to show your support. If you're not comfortable using text to give, you can fill out your bid sheet and hand a check and your bid sheet to someone wearing an orange badge who also has an envelope. Or Boulder Events, the check-in crew, can help you check out. If you came here today with a certain amount in mind, if you know me, you know now that I'm going to ask you to double that. 93 cents of every dollar given to Broomfield Fish goes directly to help people in need in our local community. It makes a true difference. If you parked in our auxiliary parking lot, the shuttle will run until 2 p.m. All right, folks, how about a dance party now? DJ? Special shout out to DJ AJ. Okay. Again, thanks. So glad you came.